Hello everyone and welcome to the YouTube channel of Being ACCA. In this video, we are continuing with our PM Pre-September 2024 mock exam. This is the third case study question from section B, which is Wheel Company. So let's get started. Let's read the question first. Wheel Company specializes in making a range of rubber-based products, including car tires. There are three different sizes of car tires: Model R 13-inch tires, Model X 15-inch tires, and Model W 17-inch tires. The production of these tires involves usage of advanced manufacturing technology with similar processes and activity types. The budgeted information of Wheel Company for the upcoming year is provided below. They are going to utilize 85% of their production capacity. Prime costs are going to be $1.2 million. For the overheads, they have given you the different costs and also the cost driver rate. Then the budgeted capacity to be utilized as shown above includes the following activity levels pertaining to the production of Model R, X, and W: number of orders, number of setups, tons, days of storage, production quantity. The standard prime cost per unit for the three models are given to you respectively. Wheel Company is currently adopting activity-based budgeting as their planning process. So the first requirement wants you to calculate the budgeted overheads for Model R, X, and W. So they've told you that they are using activity-based costing. Basis this, you have to tell for each of the three what will be the budgeted overheads. So let's get started. Unlike you, I do not have any scratch pad available or a pen and paper available for me to be able to show you my workings. Hence, I have placed this small Excel file, which is with the help of which I'm going to show you my calculations. So firstly, for Model R, then I will do it for X, and then I will do it for W. Now we are going to talk about all about the overheads. Let's first talk about the overheads which are in the name of production order. So it is given to us that 750 is the cost driver rate. That means how many is the number of orders we are going to apportion accordingly. So 750 multiplied by how many orders do we have for Model R is 30. Let me also put the per unit per driver price over here, 750. So I just have to multiply that with the number of orders. So it's 30 for this. Similarly, 750 multiplied by 35, and then it's going to be 750 multiplied by 25 orders which have been placed for W. So this is how I'm going to take for the production order. Next cost pertains to the machine setup. As far as the setups are concerned, it is $3,800 per setup. For machine R, I've had 16 setups, so 3,800 multiplied by 16. Similarly, for Model X, I've had 12 setups, and then for Model W, I've had 15 of these. So this is how I'm going to be dividing my machine setup costs. Now the next thing is about the production runs. So if I talk about the production runs, the cost driver rate is given to me as 7,000 per run. Now it depends all upon how many number of runs have been made. So if you see the number of runs, you do not really have an idea as to, how many runs have been made for them. But we do have the number of setups given to us. So we're going to use exactly the same 7,000 multiplied by 16. Then you're going to take 7,000 multiplied by 12. And then you're going to take 7,000 multiplied by 15. This is how you're going to divide for the setup costs, production runs, right? Then the next thing that you're supposed to divide is with respect to your storage. So as far as the storage is concerned, it's $125 per ton day. So ton days are directly given to us. 125 multiplied by how many ton days do we have for Model R? that is 120 ton days of storage. So this gives us 15,000. Similarly, I'm going to do it for the other models. Model X is 150. And then you have for the next one, it's 125 multiplied by 190. So this is how you arrive at all of the distributions of the three, models that you have. Now, the last thing that you will have to do over here is sum all of them together. So this is going to give you the final budgeted overheads that you're going to post to all three of your resources, all three of your models. First one is 210,300. So you'll input this over here. Model R is 210,300. Second one is 174,600. 174,600, and the third one was 204,500. So 204,500. This is the final budgeted overheads that we will be putting for our X and W. Moving ahead, we are now supposed to find out the total cost per unit for our X and W. We already know the total of our overheads, and we also know the production quantities. This is my total overheads. And if I take for my production quantity is also given to me 900, 1300, and 1000. Sorry, 1300 and 1000. So this is my production quantity. Now I can find out my overheads per unit. If I know the total and I know the number of units, I can simply find out per unit by dividing the number of units. So this is the per unit overhead cost of each product. Now I have to add to this my my prime cost. So let's see how much is the prime cost per unit. It's given right at the bottom, 95, 105, and 120. So it's prime cost per unit, 95, 105, and 120. So if you are going to add the prime cost as well as the overhead cost, you're going to get the total cost per unit. For the first one, we can round it off to 329. 329. Second one, we can take it to 239, and the last one can be 325. 239, and the last one can be 325. So this is the total cost per unit for each of the three models. Moving ahead to the next question now. This is question number 28. You have to select whether each of the following justifications pertaining to the application of activity budgeting is or are correct or incorrect. First statement says that the value of overheads is relatively significant. So this is absolutely correct. Activity-based budgeting is all about the exact distribution of your overheads between the different products in a more fair manner. So if my overheads are of a very small proportion, it would not make much sense for me to be using activity-based budgeting. However, if a lot of my expenses happen to be overheads, then it is obviously going to be of a very big benefit if you use activity-based budgeting, because it divides the overheads on the basis of how much cost has been driven by which cost driver. So this statement is absolutely correct. Moving towards the second statement, the overheads per unit for each model of tire are all fairly similar. So if you have a look over here, overhead per unit, it's 233, 134, and 204. This cannot exactly be called similar, so we will mark it as incorrect. Another thing is the third statement, wheel company is applying advanced manufacturing technology in its production that involves a range of activity types. So if you see that the statement has to be marked correct, and the reason is that if you have a complex work environment, It's going to be far more, far more to be there in a modern work environment rather than a labor-intensive environment. So if you are using a more complex costing method of accounting for overheads, this will be definitely, more appropriate for wheel company, because as the more complex it becomes, the more the need to use sophisticated methods like activity-based budgeting arises. We are going to mark this as correct. Moving ahead to the question number 29. Which of the following are least likely to be affected by the implementation of activity-based budgeting? Information systems will definitely be impacted, because now that you are doing activity-based budgeting, you will require more detailed information. So information systems will probably need to be modified. Then mission of real company. Mission of a company always and always remains same, no matter what kind of policies you bring in. You are doing it all to achieve one mission which you have set right at the beginning. Technical competencies of finance team, it's definitely going to be affected, because now they are switching to a method of budgeting which is more sophisticated, which is a little bit more complex than the traditional one. So definitely it will require the finance team to be very competent. Then the last option is the pricing decision for the tires. Definitely, if you use activity-based budgeting, your overheads are going to be, distributed on a very fair manner. So it's also going to help you improve the pricing of your tires. It's going to help you take better decisions of the price that you are setting for the tires that you go out and sell in the market. So it's the mission that is going to be the least likely to be affected by the implementation of activity-based budgeting. All right, so now coming towards the very last question pertaining to this scenario, which two of the following statements is not a limitation in implementing activity-based budgeting in wheel company? First one says it deals with significant overheads that are driven by many different activities. This is rather one of the advantages. So, which is the reason why the company should be applying this activity-based budgeting in the organization. Hence, this is not a limitation. That's why this is one of our answers. Next says it is complicated and expensive to implement, as it requires detailed analysis of overheads and measuring of activities. This is absolutely a limitation. Being complicated, being expensive is a weakness of this method. Next up, it may provide misleading information, as many fixed costs do not vary with changes in volume of drivers in the short run. This is also an advantage. This is rather a limitation of this method. That's why we have to select over here not the limitations. So we eliminate the third one also. Last one says it may provide misleading information when most overheads are non-production volume related. This again is the reason why the company should be implementing activity-based budgeting rather than being a limitation. So 1 and 4 statement is the correct one over here. With this, we are through with the section B of your PM Pre-September 2024 mock exam. Stay tuned for the further videos to solve this mock completely step by step with me.